a quorum. And yeah, in terms of the missing pieces of information, basically everything that was missing on both projects came in today, this afternoon. So it's up to you all whether or not you want to take any of it, look at any of it tonight, or continue both. You can hear from the applicants and make your call, but I haven't even reviewed all of it. So
Okay, so we're not going to end anything tonight.
it just depends on how you feel.
Well, I think, Julia, if you haven't looked at it, we need to continue, because my understanding
I gave it with 5 Harbor Street, the stuff that Tom submitted, I did give a quick look, and what he submitted does look like it takes care of the comments that you had about the appraisals. It's just that he submitted it this afternoon, so I didn't have
yeah. So maybe we just need to continue and move on, and then Tom doesn't have to worry about coming.
I mean, I think he would prefer it if we switched the order so that he could at least, address the project. And then if you want to continue, fine. But I told him that we only had 2 items on the agenda and that we would switch the order if he wasn't here so that he could present.
Yeah, no, we can certainly do that. I'm not gonna say no to that. But.
Yeah, but then it doesn't have to go.
But if we continue the first one, that's only going to take a couple minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So we're really not gonna save him any time. It's only going to be a minute or two, because we really can't do the second one anyways. We need time to look at it, look at the presentation or the information. So
right. So what they submitted on the second one, the 1654th Street, David, you were asking about this. They submitted a revised narrative to make those corrections and everything, but then they only gave us the cover page. Was it you who pointed that out, David, or Bill? One of you. Yeah. So eventually I got in touch with him and they did upload the complete thing, but that was at 4 o'clock. So
I'm not super comfortable with doing any of these tonight, or either of these tonight. Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
Well, I have a hard enough time understanding them when I have time to look at it. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. I by this afternoon, I just assumed they'd both be continued.
And honestly, our rule is you got to get the stuff in a week in advance, not
a
couple hours in advance.
And so, so we'll do that. We can. I don't even know. Should we even open the hearing? Because we can't do anything with it. We don't have all the information.
You could say it's if it's a complete application, you kind of have to open the hearing because there's a time limit. There's a time window.
Well, no, that's fine.
Yeah. Then you don't have to close the hearing.
All right, guys, get ready to vote several times rapidly today.
Okay. Let me see. We have.
I rushed home in time to get to this meeting.
Yeah, because where were you, in northern New Hampshire somewhere?
Yeah, I was hiking.
Yeah.
Oh, good. It was such a beautiful day. I'm glad you got out there. It was just a gorgeous day. Okay, so let's see. We also, I learned, have a new Conservation Commission member.
We do.
Yeah, who I just heard about this today from Gretchen. She emailed me to tell me that she saw her name on the website, but I had not heard about her yet.
Gretchen who? Our Gretchen?
Yeah, Gretchen.
Gretchen, speak up, please.
Yes, it was me. It was me.
You're going to be on the commission?
I appreciate it.
No, it's not me. It was me who reported it.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm not the new member.
Gretchen told me that we had a new member, the guy didn't know because nobody told me that we had a new member.
Gosh.
But so thank you for doing that, Gretchen, because I just wanted to now I can go to the mayor's office and ask them for information about who she is and how to get in touch with her. So I appreciate that.
Very good. Now I'll have to look at the city council minutes.
Right.
Well, it is 6:45 and we have a quorum, so I'm going to bring this meeting to order. And this is the April 4th, I'm looking at the wrong thing. This is the April 16th meeting of the Newburyport Conservation Commission, taking place on the Zoom platform, and this meeting is being recorded. The first item on the agenda are the April 2nd, where are we? April 4th.
Yes. Was it April 4th? It was April 4th. Sorry. Oh, wait.
No, it's
Yes.
the second.
It's a second.
No,
Was that the second? Okay, this is 16th. Yeah, okay.
I apologize. So this the date on this agenda is incorrect. It should say 16th. But that is correct about that it's the April 2nd meeting. I don't know why.
Okay. Now let's get that straight. This is the approval of meeting minutes of April 2nd,
Yes.
2024.
Yes.
Anybody have any comments or
Let me pull them up. Sorry. Here we go.
might as well? Nothing?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Okay. In that case, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Right, Bill Mullen,
yes.
David Vine,
Yes,
Stephen Moore,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Okay, so
Carol's here too.
Good.
Carol's here.
Yes.
I didn't see Carol. Okay. I gotta scroll down. Hi,
Oh.
Carol.
Dang, sorry, Carol. I don't like the way this is set up. I didn't see that you were even in there. Carol, what is your vote on the meeting minutes? If only we could hear you.
Sorry, I've been on Zoom like all day. So I'm abstaining because I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay,
So sorry, I'm taking time for that, but there you go.
we're all set. All right, so Julie, we have any Plum Island updates?
We had a really good MRBA meeting a week, I guess it was a little over a week ago. But no real updates. Well, actually the update, I guess I should say that there is a good update. The Army Corps of Engineers is getting closer to completing they're calling the major maintenance report on the jetty, which was actually them looking at whether or not the jetty was causing this gyre effect in the erosion on Reservation Terrace, and whether or not changes to the jetty would basically solve the problem and reduce the erosion. And they came up with the answer that yes, it is the jetty, and yes, a weir in the jetty would actually alleviate the erosion along Reservation Terrace. So right now, which is excellent news, we sort of all knew that all along, but it's excellent that they've reached that conclusion as well, and now they can move forward with design and getting funding for a modification to the jetty to create the weir. They still have more modeling to do to know where to put the weir on the jetty and how big to make it and all that. But it's excellent news. So yeah, I don't know, and timing is always an issue with Army Corps in terms of how long it takes them to do a design and then get funding and then do construction. But at least we're moving in the right direction. So I think the folks on Reservation Terrace were very happy.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you though, do they also look at whether once I don't even know what it means to put a weir in there. So, but will that then affect erosion elsewhere on the island, or
Yeah,
they think that'll
it's a-
solve the problem?
Well, it's a great question. They do think it will solve the problem on Reservation Terrace, but you're absolutely right. Well, it could cause a problem on the south
In front of
side
the-
jetty.
Right, in front of Dr. Hamani's house.
Exactly.
Exactly, where we had issues long ago, which you can remember, and then they sort of rebuilt the jetty and changed everything. So the concern is that by putting a weir in the jetty, you would end up with that old problem coming back again. So that's why they're looking really closely at how large the weir should be, what the elevations should be, where exactly along the jetty should that weir be placed, so that exactly so that they don't cause that kind of a problem. So they're going to be looking at a bunch of different alternatives. Hopefully, we end up with for everybody.
So, did you see Bill Sargent's article or letter or whatever that was in the paper last week?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So he claims that the jetty has sunk 4 feet. Whether it has or not, I don't know.
Hey, it is a large pile of rocks sitting on sand, so maybe it did.
I don't think Bill, though, I mean, he may be right. I don't know.
There's probably areas that have fallen that, settled that much, because, I mean,
Yeah.
you can see a depression in some areas.
But he
Yeah,
also
well,
mentioned
that's-
something about he was out there taking measurements and drone flights and so on and so forth, and he mentioned a city contract.
I know, that was my
Do you-
problem with it, was that he mentioned that he was under contract with the city, which he wasn't. So I mean,
Well, I'll have
I
to
was
go
just
back and
curious.
read that. I didn't read it. And of course, Bill Sargent was pretty much the first person I ever heard talking about putting a weir in a jetty.
Right.
He was calling for that a long time ago.
I think as soon as the jetty was repaired, he was calling for that. But
Pretty much as soon as this erosion started, that's pretty
Yeah.
much what he was saying. So he gets a prize for that at least, whether or not he has a contract with the city.
Yep. So,
All right. Anything else regarding that?
So the bottom
Didn't
line
they,
is that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Didn't they, from the slideshow, the PowerPoint, didn't they also make some comments about how the Newburyport sand is holding up?
yes, that was very interesting. So the dredged sand that they placed along Reservation Terrace, 200 and something, 230-ish cubic yards of sand, has shifted a lot. It's moved a lot, and you might go out there and say, wow, it looks really different. We must have lost all of this sand. But in reality, we don't know. We don't know what the volumes are. We don't have like a volume measurement and what's left. But we can see based on Greg Moore, who's a professor at UNH, I think you might all remember him, that the sand is just shifted northward. So it started out sort of in a big pancake, and now it's sort of shaped in more of a longer rectangle reaching further north along the beach. So it's basically spread out. And that is what they said that they expected it to do, what they wanted it to do. And we've also achieved a higher elevation. There's like a crest to the front of it now, which is also what it was supposed to do. It's creating more of a natural beach and dune profile. So that's all also good news. We don't know whether or not, how much volume was lost. That's a key question. But we do know that the shape of it has done something that was naturally expected.
So I realize this is the refuge people rather than whoever was at that meeting, but does anybody talk at all about whether they're going to repair the steps going down to the beach down by the refuge? Because almost all those lots are closed. The steps have the access has all been eroded.
In the refuge or out at the Plum Island Point in the parking lot?
No, in the refuge.
I don't know. That's a great question. Have they been pulled back? Has there been enough erosion down there that those steps have been pulled back? I didn't realize.
On Plum Island, yeah. The first parking
Wow.
lot, you can't take the old boardwalk and go down the steps. They had to create another way to go in, and then the first couple parking lots are closed because you can't get down to the beach.
Oh, wow.
So nobody
That's,
talked about that.
That we did not talk about that. That would be something to put on an agenda for the next time. And obviously that's in Newbury. So I'm sure that DCR, who owns that property, I guess it's the refuge, not even DCR, that
I
they're
think it's a refuge.
working
Yeah.
with the Newbury Conservation Commission on those issues. That they did not address that at the MRBA meeting, but that would have been interesting to know about.
Carol, are you sure that maybe those parking lots aren't closed because of the piping plovers?
Could be, but if you walk along the beach, you can see that there's no longer an access from
Okay,
the parking lots down to the beach. It's all been eroded away. I don't know how far down. I didn't go all the way down. I think I went, pardon me?
I was told the first parking lot would be kept open and then the others would be closed.
Well, the first parking lot is open. They created another way to get from the parking lot down to the beach because the boardwalk and the boardwalk's still there, but you can't, the steps are gone.
Hmm.
So.
Was that from these previous storms?
Yeah. I think it started wasn't there like a really big storm in January maybe or something? I think that's when, and I was
Yes.
just surprised. I just was down there about a week or so ago and doesn't look like they've done anything. Maybe they just figured they'd wait till the weather changed. But I just didn't know if anybody was talking about it. I was surprised.
I will ask about it next time we see those guys.
Thank you.
And what about on reservation or the point? What about the access there where the structure was taken down on DCR property?
Still closed. It's still closed. They had to pull it way back. And I don't know if they're going to continue to have to pull back even more or whether it may be stabilized at this point in terms of the erosion in that location. But yeah, they had to take down a major part of the boardwalk.
Julia, I see the new member is an attendee.
No.
Oh,
Barbara.
And
Barb Riley. Okay. Well, now that I've seen her name on our website, let's see, we'll just move Barb Riley over to be a panelist if she wants to be. Barbara Riley.
come on in, Barb. The water's fine.
Okay. Barbara, I just learned today that you were appointed to be our new conservation commissioner. So welcome, and I'm so glad that you're here. And yeah, good. You can unmute yourself and be part of today's meeting.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure. I was really just listening in. I thought maybe I'd wait to hear from you, but I thought, well, I'll
Yeah.
listen in and
I was waiting
get
to hear from the
familiar with you
mayor's
folks.
office about your appointment, and then Gretchen Joy. So I wasn't even really sure until this afternoon when Gretchen, who takes our minutes, told me that your name was on the website already.
Oh.
So was a little bit of a surprise, but I'm really glad. I was really glad to hear it, and welcome. And you can just listen today if you want, and then we can communicate about the next meeting. Because obviously you haven't seen the agenda and all this.
Right, great. That's great.
Okay.
I just thought I'd listen in and I'll touch base with you, during the week or maybe
great.
next week or something.
That's
Thank you.
Barb, have you been sworn in yet?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay, so you wouldn't be able to vote tonight anyway, so
Oh.
yeah, you gotta get into the clerk's office and get yourself sworn in and sign the big book.
Okay, no one had mentioned that, but it makes sense.
all right. Well, we'll
Very
take care of
good.
all these details later, but thank you for showing up, and just, yeah, feel free to sit back and listen and ask any questions if you want to. And we can go from there.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. All right then. On to the business at hand. The first item is Lisa Nardone, 5 Harbor Street, request for determination.
We do have
Continue.
Tom Hughes here.
Okay,
I'll move him to a panelist.
right, Tom.
Hey, good evening. Tom Hughes on behalf of Lisa Nardone at 5 Harbor Street. You may recall at the last meeting, we had a little bit more housekeeping to do on the substantial improvement issue. And it turned out I was only given one of a couple of reports, and there was also a cover letter that was written that explained everything. So we had the perspective report, but we didn't have the existing report. And then there's a cover letter that pretty clearly explains the value change. So we've submitted that into the record. And the other thing we did is we had the structural engineer's letter updated to reflect the plan as submitted, so it doesn't have the expansion of the deck anymore included in it. So that simplified that. So with that said, I mean, the only other thing I do want to note is on our site plan, the planting area that's shown, we don't intend on doing that with the RDA. That was originally put on there because we were going to be proposing a shed. And if we do come back in with the shed, we'll be putting the planting area, back in service for that. But there's no impact outside the footprint of the home. It's a pretty straightforward plan at this point. And we have plenty of driveway to have, the dumpster and contractor parking, et cetera. So we do not anticipate any impacts.
So I think at this point, Tom, because we only got the information late or this afternoon sometime, we're probably going to continue this just because we haven't had any time to look at any of the documentation.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. What we submitted is pretty straightforward, and the valuation letter of explanation is, I mean, it's like literally got it all in one paragraph.
Somebody's got loud music playing.
Yeah,
It's,
sorry, that's me.
listen to us, Carol, please.
So if you go to if we go a little bit further, I think there's a paragraph that
Yes.
pretty clearly lays out. So right there, as is market value is 1.28, but you take out the land and you end up with 630,000. And then when it's all done, it's worth 1.45, and the improvement's 800. So it's less than a 50% increase in the value of the improvement, which is the building.
Okay.
So that's pretty straightforward. Again, I don't want to push the commission past its comfort. I acknowledge we just got that material into you. Today I got the last piece of it on Friday. I was out in the field all day Friday, and obviously yesterday being a holiday. So if the commission's uncomfortable moving forward, but the information's all there and it's all supported by, Greg Story's typical highly detailed reports. And then the structural letter is essentially what you saw last time, saying that the foundation is, fully capable of supporting the addition. And it just removed reference to work that was related to a deck expansion.
Okay. All right.
So
Anything
that's
else?
it. I mean, no, that's it. So, if the commission is comfortable voting, we'd love that. If not, then I would certainly agree to a continuance. I'll leave that up to the commission and your discretion.
Okay, well, I will leave it up to a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue to the next meeting.
Second,
And what's the date of the next meeting?
I think it's
Date of the next meeting is May 7th, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. May 7th. Okay. So continuance to that to May 7th. We got a second. Let's see. Bill Mullen,
Yes.
David Vine,
yes,
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
and I will vote yes.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you. We'll see you on
Thanks,
May
Tom.
7th. Take care.
Night.
All right. May I get a motion to open the public hearings?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Let's see. Bill Mullen,
Yes.
David Vine,
yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
And I vote yes. So next item is Sharon Sullivan, 1654th Street, notice of intent. Julie, you're talking, your lips are moving, but I
Really?
don't hear you. Can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
I
there you
can
go.
hear
Now
her
I can
now.
hear you.
can you hear me
Alright.
now? That's
You might be
great.
too far away from the mic or something.
Maybe that's it. So, okay, now we have Chris Crump, who is the project architect, and it looks like Dan Wells from LEC Environmental, who is the consultant on the notice of intent. Why don't you all, this is the revised notice of intent, which we received this afternoon also. So why don't you all run through this with us, and you can give your presentation on the project. I also have the project plans up here.
Good evening. Could I share my screen? This is Dan Wells.
Yep, sure.
Great. All right. Thank you very much for meeting with us tonight. I'm Dan Wells with LEC Environmental, and Chris Crump, the architect, is here as well. I just wanted to start by giving a quick overview of where the project is located. You can see it's right over here. It's right above the town line with Newbury, and it's right on the edge of the Merrimack River. And this is just a zoom in that shows aerial photo of where the lot is, 1654th Street. And so the project is a small addition right in this, extending off this corner of the house. It's 116 square feet in extent. This is a photograph of what it looks like there today, and the addition would go just right in this area, just extending off the house. And these existing plants would be temporarily relocated and then replanted at the completion of the addition. There's also, the project's going to be providing some mitigation. This is a part of the backyard, and this is going to be planted with American beach grass in a square footage, 1-to-1, 116 square feet of American beach grass, which is going to, enhance the coastal dune. So this is the project site plan. And so again, here's the area highlighted in red. This is where the addition would be, 116 square feet. The existing coastal resources, this is edge of coastal beach, which is highlighted in orange, which was delineated by LEC. There's additionally the mean high water of the tidal Merrimack River was calculated and shown here. So the project, you can see, is located within 100 feet of that. The entire property is within riverfront of the Merrimack River. There's the entire property is also Barrier Beach coastal dune associated with the Plum Island Barrier Beach system. And finally, the entire property is within the FEMA 100-year flood zone, zone AE, which is at elevation 9. So you can see the existing house is there's some spot grade 6.5, 7. So the entire property is within that flood zone. So therefore, the resource area would be land subject to coastal storm flowage. So again, it's a small portion of the existing developed. There's, driveway and existing home and deck. So this area in yellow is the proposed erosion control. So that'll be maintained during construction. There's a designated materials and equipment storage area in the existing driveway. And finally, this area here in purple is where we're going to be providing mitigation plantings. So that's the overview of the project and the resource areas. I'd like to turn it over to Chris Crump, who's the architect. And I don't know if you wanted to share, Chris, or you want to just go through your permitting set.
Oh, Chris, your sound's off.
Sorry. There you go. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. So yeah, this is just what we would call permit set for a construction. If we can go to the next slide. So these are existing floor plans. Currently, this is the first floor plan. This is the area that of the existing area of a dining room and a mudroom area. As you walk in the front door, here's the deck right here. Can you see my mouse? No. Okay. So you have the mudroom area, dining room area on the bottom on the top floor plan, but on the bottom part of the top floor. Thank you. And this is where the expansion would come out. It's roughly just about a 5-foot expansion and comes out right to the edge of the existing deck on the right-hand side there. So if you were to, at the front door, if you right in front of the front door, there's a deck there, and the expansion would come out just even with that. That is, so the tricky part about this is the existing floor for that dining room and mudroom and the kitchen area is in fact not above 2 feet above floodplain. It is into the floodplain, the 2 feet above floodplain by approximately 4 inches. So if you look in that floor plan, there's a living room area in the center of the floor plan. And as you drop straight down from there, there's a step down from that floor plan into the mudroom and dining room and kitchen area that wraps around the whole house. And so what we are looking to do to be able to get this above the floodplain is we're going to continue the floor of the living room over the existing floor of the mudroom and dining room to get the new construction above 2 feet above the floodplain. And that would raise the floor up in that area to make sure that the new construction is above the floodplain and meets all criteria for that aspect of it. And so on the second floor, there's an existing bedroom up there with stairs up. We are in the scope of the work, not to do with the touching the ground at all, but then included in the scope of work is to reconfigure the stairs that go up there and putting a shed dormer on both sides of that existing bedroom to give more, not more living space, but more headroom in that space. So if we can go to the next plan. These are existing floor plans. Obviously, this is the first one there at the top is the elevation of the existing house facing the street. The one on the bottom is the one facing the river. And the next slide. And this is obviously the other two sides of the property. There's a lot of jogs and roof lines and pitches and so forth. And in our attempts to put the new addition on, we're trying to make it a little bit more less not as many lines in the structure. So we can go to the next slide. So as you can see here, the addition is in the bottom half of the floor plan. There's a dashed line going across there from left to right that's showing the existing line of the building. And then we're just simply extending that out another 5 feet to give more room to the dining room and mudroom area. And again, keeping it at the same level as the living room. And then just above on the left-hand side of the dining room, it'll step back down to the existing floor of the kitchen. And the next slide. And on the second floor, we're reconfiguring the stair that goes up to the second floor. And if you can you zoom in on this a little bit? There we go. Perfect. So you can see at the top of it, you can see where the proposed new proposed shed dormer is and where the existing shed dormers are. There are existing shed dormers on both sides of the existing house. We're just extending the existing shed dormers all the way across to provide more headroom upstairs, because right now the walls on the top and bottom of that floor plan are about 2.5 to 3 feet high. So we're just trying to create more headroom. Next slide. There we go. So this is what we're doing, or we plan to do on the proposed addition. The new addition on the first floor, the joist would cantilever over the existing structure that's there now, and then we'd have pilings that go in on the outside corners of the addition to be able to give them the necessary structural support. And so everything would be open to below. There is an existing foundation under the main rectangular box of the original house. But there are no mechanicals in the basement anymore. They moved them all up above. So there is just literally an open crawl space that's probably about 5.5 feet high, I think it is. The owner said that she's 5'6", I think 5'4", and she can stand up in it, but that's about it. She almost hits the ceiling there. So it's a very low crawl space underneath the existing. But the wraparound lower level that you see on there existing is all on pilings already. So it's just the original center core that has a 5-foot crawl space underneath it. So in this concept, we're not increasing the existing main ridge height. And we are minimizing as much as possible the extension of the proposed addition. We wanted to just square it up with the existing deck. We didn't want to push it out any further than that. You know, trying to make sure that we don't take any more land than we need to expand this. Again, as Dan mentioned, it's about 116 square feet of additional first floor space. The next slide. I think that's about it. The rest of them are just in, oh yeah, and there's the other sides, but that the only thing that's insignificant for this is the other shed dormer on the back side of the house on the top floor there. You can see the extension of that existing shed dormer. But other than that, that's for the most part the scope of the project and the scope of the construction work that's being done on the property. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
I just had one in that, if you could go back to what we were just looking at.
Sure.
In the picture that was shown at the beginning, there was lattice work underneath here.
Was. Uh-oh.
And
oh,
and,
that one. Okay, yep.
And the plan that we were just looking at does not show lattice work.
Yep.
So are you depending on when that was added, we
Yeah.
don't allow lattice work.
Understood. And that's why I didn't show anything on there, because I know you know, the lattice is not something that's approved to be put on the bottom of the structure. So we're not I you know, I have instructed my client that, you know, unless it's approved, lattice work can't be proposed and put on the existing on the new structure.
Okay, but it will remain on the old structure.
Yeah, you know, that's what's there now. You know, if it's deemed that it has to be taken off an existing structure, I don't know if that's something that has to be done, but yeah.
Well, I guess it would depend on when it was added.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I don't know. I have no idea when it was done. That would be a question for the owner. Unfortunately, she's away on vacation right now. Unfortunately, she was disappointed that she was not able to make the meeting. But I can ask about that and find out what that situation is.
Okay.
Will the entire first floor now be 2 foot above the base flood elevation?
Nope, the new construction will be 2 feet above the new construction addition of the 5 feet going out. If we can go back to the floor plan, please. Okay, and just zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, so that whole entire dining room, mudroom area will be up above the floodplain, including if you just scroll up a little bit. The existing living room is also above the floodplain. The existing structure, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's the words 1 step down. That's the existing kitchen area. It would step back down into the existing kitchen.
Now, that mudroom portion that you're gonna be constructing above, are you gonna leave the existing
Yes.
flooring?
Yes.
Okay.
But it would just, it'll only be just, you know, the existing structure that's there. We're just building it. So any new construction would be on top of and above the flood, 2 feet above the floodplain. The bottom of the new structure putting in would be above floodplain, the 2 foot floodplain elevation.
Did you consider bringing the rest of the first floor level without, like, not having this step, but putting everything above the floodplain?
We did, but that's a full kitchen that is not extremely old. I don't know when it was done, to be honest with you. But it was done at some point. It's not extremely old, but to be able to take that and raise it up would put us way over the construction costs of what we would be allotted to do on this project. And the head height on it as well, it would be, so the ceiling height that we're gonna obtain by doing this addition is not going to be the same ceiling height that we have further down in the kitchen. So if we were to raise that floor up, there would not be enough ceiling height without taking off the roof on that side as well and raising that.
Julie, is that how we usually handle situations with existing that doesn't meet it when they're doing new work?
Yeah, as long as the new addition is elevated to what we need it to be 2 feet above base flood elevation, then, and if a structural engineer, you know, is okay with the existing foundation remaining as is. Again, if it's not a substantial improvement, pushing it over the 50% rule, then that existing foundation can remain. If they were to be doing renovation work, and structural renovation work on the existing foundation, it would have to be elevated, but leaving it as is.
Was the letter from the structural engineer eventually added to this filing? I
That
mean, it
was-
wasn't there this afternoon, but
No, and we didn't request that we did that on 5 Harbor Street, and they did get that to us today. But on this one, no, there's not a letter from the structural engineer. Essentially, because the addition is elevated 2 feet. And if it doesn't trigger a substantial improvement, then we don't need the letter from the structural engineer. The letter from the structural engineer is required if it was a substantial improvement in the AE zone and not in the V or AO zone. In this case, it is the AO zone. So, but in the AE zone, if it was a substantial improvement and they wanted to try to get out of lifting the building up on pilings, then we would need a letter from a structural engineer. In this case, that doesn't apply, so we just need the appraisals, and we would go by whether or not they say it's a substantial improvement. If it is, it's elevated. If not, hope that makes sense.
whether there's a letter required or not, I mean, they are changing the foundation by the cantilever and so forth.
Yeah,
what the
I don't
existing
disagree with you.
ceiling-
You're right. It probably would be smart for them to be consulting a structural engineer on that issue. It's just not required under our regs in terms of the substantial improvement in this case.
We will need obviously we will need a structural engineer to do the framing and pilings on this prior to getting a building permit anyhow. So it's just at a stage right now where it hasn't been engaged yet, but it'll be needed, mandatory for us to get a structural and piling plan to be able to support this in order to obtain a building permit if we get this passed through.
Okay, and then in that case, you know, if for some reason your structural engineer indicates that the existing foundation does need modification, then that needs to come back to us.
Understood.
Also, just for an FYI, we're not gonna vote on this tonight just because the last information we got came in at 4 o'clock, and we needed at least a week or 2 weeks ahead. I can't remember, but anyways, so.
Understood. I totally understand that.
And because we haven't seen that documentation, I don't think it was ever on the website for us to look at it.
Which one,
But
sir?
the,
This is what would have been uploaded today, this form.
Yep. So that form is good, but that doesn't really mean anything to us unless we have the post-construction appraisal. So you only gave us the existing conditions appraisal, and what we're looking for is a comparison between existing and proposed. And so that form doesn't tell us that either.
This was the appraisal report, so I guess there was wasn't clear to me. So they reported the property value is 1.2 million, and then the improvement value is 408,000. So
Yeah.
that doesn't represent the proposed conditions. That's just
Well,
you don't just add that to the.
When I looked through this appraisal report, a couple things became clear. There's one appraisal. The appraisal that we received is the appraisal of the existing conditions. And in the appraisal of the existing conditions, it shows that the property value, the entire property, meaning the land and all the structures on the land, are 1.2 million. And the improvement value, which when you look up what improvement value means in appraiser language, it means the value of the improvements on the property. The improvements on the property are the structures and anything else on the property. So the improvement value on the existing property is the value of the structures on the existing property, which is 408. So we're still just looking at existing structure versus existing property, which is an interesting number to know, but it doesn't give us any indication whatsoever of what the proposed project would yield in terms of value. We don't have a proposed appraisal. We don't have a appraisal of the post-construction condition. Does that make sense?
Okay, and just to clarify, if that number is 49% or less of this number,
No.
then
The 1.2 million number is actually irrelevant. The only number the commission cares about is the value of the structure only. So when we get the appraisals, they do an appraisal of the whole property, and then they pull out a value for the structure only, which is what they call the improvement value, because it's the improvement on the property. The improvement is a structure. We get a value for that. That in this case is 408,000. Now we need the appraiser to look at the proposed project and what kind of improvements to the structure are being made, and then what the after construction value of the structure would be. And that's probably more than 408,000, but whatever that number is with this addition added and all of the improvements upstairs and downstairs, then we look to see whether that number is more than 50% of 408,000. That makes sense?
okay.
All right, so so just to be clear, it's not that if you have a $408,000 assessed value of the existing structure, you have 200,000 of construction work to be done. It's the assessed value of the project afterwards. You know,
And it's not the assessed value, right? When we're talking about the assessed value, that's today's assessed value, and you can compare that to estimated construction costs.
Yeah.
Or you can do a market value appraisal of the structure versus a market value appraisal of the structure with the proposed project added onto it. And that can't be more than a 50% increase in value over the existing structure. And so what you guys started out doing is this appraisal, you know.
I guess my question would be, let's say, hypothetically, please don't take it too verbatim, but let's say the construction costs were 300,000, but it only increased the assessed value of the project of the property by another 150,000 hypothetically.
That's
then it
totally
would be
fine, and that can happen, and that happens, and that's why you choose one method or another. So if the construction costs are 600,000, but it only raises the value of the structure by 100,000. We don't care what those construction costs are.
Got it.
If you're going with this method of looking at appraised values, then we're just going to look at that appraised value. We're not going to care what you spent on construction.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarity.
Yep.
Although if I spent 600,000, I would hope it would improve the value by more than 100,000.
Right, but
One
that
would
goes
think.
to like sometimes people want like a really fancy materials that they
Yes.
have shipped over from Europe for whatever personal reason. It
Yes.
might cost a lot, but that doesn't necessarily yield a value to someone else.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay,
So do we need a
Um,
motion to continue?
we will at a certain point.
Okay.
Are we all done with questions at this point?
I think so. I am.
Have two.
I don't mean to interrupt, but if I may ask the board, if we can definitely get as much constructive criticism or comments on it so that we can adjust the plan. So next time, hopefully we come back with all the required appraisal information on it. Then hopefully we'll make it a little bit easier for you next time. We just want to make sure we don't have to bother you too many times to get through this.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get this passed, that's all.
Okay. I wouldn't mind seeing more plantings, but it's not required. So
Yeah, there's, so all that, okay, so you took a picture, the picture that I saw earlier. Yeah, I can see is there anything further out or?
I don't know if you have any other pictures, Dan. We
Oh,
have
you had another one with a red circle around it. Yeah, that one.
Yep.
So all this other area is gonna stay sand?
Yes. Yes, it's currently sand. It will remain sand. We don't have any intention unless we put, she also mentioned she might be happy to put some, I don't know what's on the approved list of plantings, but along the fence line, maybe she'll put some shrubbery of some kind that fits with the desired plantings on your list. You know, she did hope to be able to put something along there, not only for environmental reasons, but also for screening with the neighbors. So I think she'd be open to that. So we can definitely suggest maybe some more plantings along there if that would make the board happier.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be great, and it'd be
yeah,
great to have it.
native and sand dune
Yep.
friendly.
Tolerant, yeah, and you know, if you can show those areas, you know, if you're gonna plant a few shrubs along the fence, if you can show that in this plan here, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, she can.
Plum Island planting list of native plants on our website, Chris, and
Yep.
it covers trees, shrubs, grasses, like the whole thing. So
Yeah, she is the homeowner is I don't know the terminology for it, but she owns a plant company, commercial plant company. So she's very well adversed in plants, and plantings. So I'm sure she'll like when we gave her the list, she went down, yep, I want that one, and that one in regards to options that she could provide. She knew exactly what they are and everything. So I'm sure she'll definitely know exactly what plants and the technical names for them when the time comes.
Yeah, no, she's welcome to put as many plants as she wants there from
Okay.
that list. So.
Okay.
I don't have anything else. Anybody else in the commission have a question?
No.
For now, anything in the future, we'll send to Julie and she'll share with you guys.
Okay.
My next question, well, also, does anybody from the public have any questions? I see someone named Jillian. If you want to say something, Jillian, raise your hand. If not, that is fine. And it looked, Jillian wants to say something. Julie, can you,
so
No, I'm sorry. I just thought you wanted to say like, hi, welcome to the group or something. This is my first meeting.
Oh, sorry, Jillian. No, if you got any questions on the project, no, that's, it's up to you. If not, you're all set. All right. Very good. Okay, so, get a motion to continue this to the May 7th meeting.
So moved.
Second,
All right, roll call, Steve Moore,
yes.
David Vine,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Bill Mullen,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you in May.
Thank you everyone. I appreciate your time. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearings?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Can I get a second?
Second,
Call Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes,
Carol Wagon,
yes.
Bill Mullen,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And Barb, you'll be included in this next time. Let's
Yeah,
see.
I did want to let you know that I had planned a trip to the Azores, May 4th through the 11th. So it just happens to occur on the
Okay.
first day.
It's
No
quite all right. You
worries.
can always, they have, I know they have internet in the Azores too, so.
worries,
Steve
Barb.
did,
Might
Steve
just
did
have to
lots of
delay it a
some,
week or 2 weeks.
We'll send you
But,
some homework to do before
Yeah.
before the second.
Okay,
meeting.
perfect.
it won't get you the record, which, Steve called in from New Zealand one time, so, but,
Zoom
Well,
changed
that
things
is
a lot for
that
me.
is a true commitment.
you have fun in the Azores.
Thank you.
Is it a group trip or you're going by yourself, or just doing it yourself?
No, just 2 of us. Yeah.
Just doing it, okay. Very good. All right, do we have anything else? Anybody?
Julia, have you made any progress with that violation?
Wish I could give you a better update than I have, Steve. I don't have an update on that. And I just got back from California, so that's part of why I didn't make a lot of progress last week. But it's not
Okay.
off my agenda.
Well, eventually
Okay.
they might show up there.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah.
Good.
Sure they
Could
will.
someone remind me what the status is with National Grid? I know they came to us with a plan, but were they gonna prepare something and come to the board with
Yeah,
what they're doing?
remember I CC'd you. I got in touch with them after our last meeting, and I think I CC'd you, David. Now I can't remember either. What their response was. Essentially, I asked them to come to the next meeting and
Which would have
present
been this one.
their revised plans to us. They indicated that they didn't indicate that they were looking forward to doing that in any way, shape, or form. But I can't vividly remember what the email from them actually said. I'll go back and look for it tomorrow, and I'll send it to you guys, and you can let me know what you'd like from them.
Well, I think they had said something, they were gonna put a seed mix in there. And
Right.
I asked them, okay, what's in that seed mix? Because
Yep.
if they're still gonna put freshwater stuff in there and it's still gonna get flooded with salt water, it's not gonna work.
Right. Great. That you're refreshing my memory, Steve. That's exactly what happened. They said, no worries, we're addressing this and we're going to fill it in and put the flap valve on and revegetate. And I said, well, the whole point, or they said, we're going to throw a seed mix down. And I said, well, the whole point of this was that the problem was that it wasn't growing anything there, that it was supposed to be vegetated and it hasn't been vegetated for all this time. So right now, telling us that you're going to put a seed mix down isn't necessarily making us feel better about this. We still don't know what that seed mix involves, whether or not it's salt tolerant, whether or not it's going to grow, etc. So we do need more information. And I believe that was the last communication that we heard.
Well, they had also mentioned that they were going to they might cut down that cedar tree, which is the only large piece of vegetation out there. So no, they're not cutting that down.
That's actually living.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for reminding me of all that. I will get back with them tomorrow and just let them know that not quite what we wanted to hear.
And I don't recall them having plans. I remember a narrative or a letter they had, but I don't remember actual plans.
Yep, we didn't get
I think
plans.
they gave a spec on the duct valve or something, but that
Yeah,
was
they've
about
been
it.
pretty cagey about it. We asked them for plans. They said, well, can we just do this during the certificate of compliance process? And I said, no, we want to see some plans. Might not necessarily want it to be a formal amendment or modification, but you need to show us the plans. We never got the plans, asked them to come into a meeting. They said, we're taking care of it. We're going to throw some seed mix down. So, yeah, that's where things stand. It's not we haven't had good responses. So,
You would think that they weren't even aware that there's been so much flooding, or do they just not care? It's weird to me.
Well, they're very aware of the flooding because they had to put sandbags around some of their buildings. So
Yeah.
maybe
I
that's a
think-
different group of people, but
I think what it is they do not care about this little triangle of land. They don't care.
That
It's
would,
not jeopardizing their substation. It's not, they don't care about the rail trail. They don't care. So, and that's again, I could be wrong about that. They might care very much, but, let's invite them to a meeting.
okay, sounds good. Anything else?
No.
Hearing nothing?
Have you
I'll
seen
make
the
a
little?
motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Wait,
one more
hang on,
thing.
Bill.
Oh,
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the little river trails, have you been over there at all, Joe?
I have not recently, no.
There is a tree that is before the very first intersection off of Hale Street.
Okay.
Not the entrance up by I-95 and
The one further down.
collapsed culvert, but yeah, there's a tree, you gotta step right through it right now. Before the first junction, which is like 2/10 of a mile off of the road. So there's a couple places I know with big trees down in there right now.
So, there's a big tree that is down across it?
Yes, there is. Yes,
Yeah.
and there's another place also up in the meadow, the open meadow area.
Hmm?
And there's a big tree down, and so the trail's getting wide because people are having to bypass these down trees.
Okay,
Those are two big trees anyway that are
Joe,
down.
Joe and Steve, should we maybe see if Matt can get on this?
yes.
That's what
we need, we need to have another meeting with them anyway.
we do. So that's a good point. And Bill, if you could send me an email with a way to identify
Okay,
identifying
I
these
will.
locations.
Yep.
Then we have someone who can get out there and clear it.
Sure,
That'd
sure.
be great. Thank you.
Although if you have a chainsaw, feel free.
All right, anything else? Steve, there was a motion on the floor.
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ready then. Roll call vote. Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Phil Mullen,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, Barb, we'll see you next meeting. If you got any
No, we won't.
questions, do
We'll
not,
hear- she'll be in the Azores next meeting.
oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like I wasn't even listening. So yeah, if
No
you have any
worries.
questions, Barb, feel free to contact me or Julie, and we'll go from there.
And
Okay.
Ju-
Sounds great.
Have
And
fun in
Julie,
the
I won't-
Azores.
I won't be at the next meeting. I have a program that night. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you. All right. Is that it?
All right, folks. Have a good evening.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you. You too. Bye-bye.